Greetings, Internet friends. Welcome to another episode of the Synergy Cafe online show, featuring speaker, entertainer, close-up illusionist, and marketing alchemist, Magic Brad. It's the Internet lifestyle show about career, finance, relationships, spirituality, and wellness. We're moving the online chatter over to real-life activity. And now, please welcome your host of Synergy Cafe, Magic Brad.
Hey Internet friends, it's Magic Brad with Synergy Cafe. You got your sound turned up so you can hear what's going on. We're doing another interview here on Synergy Cafe, and I've got a new friend. I forgot his name already because he's got a very unique and special name, and his name is?
Delanova Star Livingstone.
Delanova. Okay.
Yeah, Delanova Star Livingstone. Delanova means new day, and STAR, the hyphenated part, brings it up, ties it into the fifth dimension. We're going to be doing dimensions here.
Okay.
I should be looking at you, or should I be looking at me?
We're doing some deep stuff. You should be looking into your camera, so then it looks like you're looking at the people.
Yeah,
there you go. Exactly. And I know this is kind of a weird thing this way, but my alarms.
It's a little bit like I'm talking to something, not somebody. So
yep,
anyway,
that's just it. You have to kind of pretend.
Delanova stands for new day. That's the derivative of. It's a Melchizedek name that was given in 1973, and that's because I'm involved with others in the new creation that's going on in Andromeda.
Got it.
A bit of quick history, all right? A real quick bit of history. The universe is 900 trillion light years across, okay? It's not 13.5 billion or 14. It's 900 trillion light years across. It's composed of 7 great super universes, and they were all built on the male side. You know, the Holy Trinity is actually a father, a mother, and a daughter son. As above, so below. It's the same thing. As above, so below. So it was all built on the male side of the only begotten son frequencies.
Before we get into the deep stuff, let's learn a little bit more about you. Are you married yourself? Right. You got kids?
Am I what?
You married and have children?
No, I have children, but they're from the 60s when I was a hippie.
Okay, go. And now you live up north of me, northeast, basically up in Canada area, right?
Yeah.
Sure, I'm over here in Minnesota, so we're kind of neighbors.
Yeah. Well, actually, Minnesota's not far. I lived in Winnipeg for 14 years, back through the 50s and up until the mid-50s. So, and that's just north of you guys.
Exactly.
When you got it cold, we got it cold. Or it was the other way around. It came down. So when we got it cold, you guys got it cold.
That's exactly. I moved to Asheville, North Carolina for a couple of years, and we used to say we pulled all the cold air from Canada down to Asheville.
Well, it's changed, There's with all of the energies and stuff on the move now, the weather cycles have changed quite a bit.
Sure.
Winnipeg gets a lot less cold than they used to. I went to school in 1953. It was 52 below zero in Fahrenheit. So
wow, I was born in 57.
One more degree, they would have closed the school. But it was like opening a freezer, big deep freezer. The air crackles. Well, the air was crackling all the way to school and back. It was just really something. So now it gets to be like 20. Now it gets to be 20 degrees. Oh, don't go out, button up. It's freezing. It's the terrible weather. They're wimps.
Well, tell us a little bit about what it is you do. I know that it gets into some very deep spirituality and more New Age kind of stuff. So if you want to share a little bit about what it is that you do and what your mission is, your mission. Well,
there's two projects up on the internet, and one is called the Revelatorium, Revelatorium.com. That's the whole outline of what's going on, the new creation in Andromeda. We're in the cleanup in the aftermath of the Luciferian rebellion of the cosmic overplus. How's that?
Deep.
So that's the official term. All right. It was 5 billion years ago. It wasn't a newbie and Lucifer and God aren't having a fist fight. Lucifer was an administrator out of Orion that came up with some off the wall ideas of doing things. He proposed them. They were rejected for obvious reasons. So the fall of pride was, he said, well, what the heck, I'm going to do them anyway. And he got others to go along with him. But here's the perspective. when I say creation is 900 trillion light years across, okay, our galaxy alone has 100 billion stars, and they have planets. So you're looking at maybe 1 trillion planets in this galaxy alone. But this local universe has 1,000 galaxies. So that's a lot of planets, all right? But the local universe is only one of trillions inside this whole big creation. So there's your scale. The Luciferian rebellion only ever touched on 27,000 planets, barely a drop in the bucket, and only 2,500 like Earth ever got a third dimension in. That's what Lucifer wanted to do. He wanted to bring.
Who counts these things?
Who counts these
things?
Counts
them, counts the planets. How do you know that?
Well,
it's an approximation, right?
I haven't been out there counting them. I took it for the information that I got was, Sam. There's people around. I'm not the only one, but there's people. It's not channeling. People talk about channeling. That's an email that just came through. So I'm on the same. I can't do anything about that. Oh, I can turn off my email. Well,
it's okay. Don't worry about it.
It's on vacation. Anyway, the long and the short of it is, there's there's people like myself that are involved. People talk about channeling. Channeling is telepathic between your outer consciousness and some other entity's outer consciousness. Okay, so it's a lesser source of information. Then you have what's called Melchizedek, which is your higher consciousness is in tune with the higher consciousness of a higher dimension. That's where the real information comes in, because it comes through uncluttered. It comes through pure information. Now, usually it's not like somebody's talking to you. You don't write it out on a piece of paper. Pow, the thought is there. Now you have to flesh it out into a third dimensional understanding. And in my role in all of this was to wordsmith it into a literal form that people could read and understand.
Got it.
Now the Revelatorium started at the end of the 90s. It's been up for a while, and it still gets stuff added to it. The big project that started this in June, there was it was called Alien Cosmic Conference. It was a UFO conference, but people from all over the world came to Brantford, for lectures and things like that. And I had a small table. She wouldn't let me lecture, but I had a table with about 40 or 50 pictures of what are called radionic clouds. The Bible is ripped from one end to the other, clouds, clouds in the sky. You can send it from clouds. Clouds are not little cumulus clouds with angels up there playing harps, all right? When a radionic ship comes into Earth's fifth dimension, it sets up a magnetic field, and the magnetic field gets reflected in the clouds below as radial lines. That's one of the types. That's the main type. And so I was exposing this idea of these radionic clouds, because Brantford has, in the website, Radionnics.com. This is the website. There's a PDF you can get for $10, I guess. There's also a book. But there's now over 400 of photographs and full explanation. I was asked to put that together because, everybody's waiting for the government to disclose the fact that they know that there are UFOs. That's everybody's talking about disclosure. Why don't they do that? Well, this disclosure has been given, but it's been given in a different way. The radionic fleet has given you, through this website and stuff, which was information I got and put down, how to see them. How do I put it any other way? They have uncloaked themselves by giving you the rules to see them.
Okay, so
you're not going to...
Let me kind of grasp all this. You're saying that on your website you've got a PDF that will teach people or show people ways of uncloaking that so they can see what's going on?
Yeah. Well, the website itself, the PDF is the website put into a PDF form. So it's the same info, but the difference between a PDF is you can carry it around with you, you put it on your computer. You don't have to be on the internet in your browser to do it.
Right, okay.
So PDFs are very handy. So I just mentioned it.
It's a document.
Because a lot of people like to go that route. But the website, Radionnics.com, is the official disclosure. It's done because we're now in a, the idea of a UFO standing on the White House lawn and a guy stepping out saying, take
me to your leader.
The higher, this is a Christ action. This is exactly 100% continuation of 2,000 years ago, because, when he cometh again, he cometh with clouds. Well, the clouds part are already in place. and we're in the cleanup in the aftermath of the Luciferian rebellion, which is a huge thing going on. And there's millions and millions of these ships. They're in a vast congregation outside the orbit of Pluto, thousands a day teleporting into Earth's fifth dimension, and these clouds show up. They're all over the Earth. The website has photo. Now, this is as many as I've got so far. Of course, a lot of them off the internet, but they're from Brantford, from Toronto, from Los Angeles, from Vancouver, from Uganda. I got a friend in Uganda that's been hip to these things now for about 3 or 4 years. So he keeps sending me photographs whenever he sees one.
So let me ask a few questions. Let me ask you a couple questions. So I'm trying to understand all this. Like, if someone sees something one-dimensional, they just see one side of it, right? If they see something that's like two-dimensional, they might see the other side of it. And then when you got three-dimensional, they might see the edge. So it's more of a three-dimensional object. But in the fourth dimension, we don't really see what it is. And in the fifth dimension, we don't. That's why we don't see
the funny
these.
thing about the fifth, Earth has a fifth dimension. You know, people talk about the flat Earth. They argue that Earth is flat. Well, they're partially correct. Earth's fifth dimension is flat. All right, but the fourth dimension is actually like onions, skins of an onion. There's 49 energy levels or octaves. The fourth dimension is a transition of energies. The whole Mayan calendar thing from the 60s through to 2012, all of those different houses, those energy things that they talk, they were going progressively through the 49 octaves of the astral states to bring us to the point we are now, because we're in a 2,000-year age of Aquarius now, having just finished the 2,000-year age of Piscean age. And during Aquarius, the whole galactic law is going to be brought back in. Man's consciousness is going to be raised right back up to the fifth dimension. And at the end of Aquarius, the population will be removed from the surface of the planet. Everything will be back in again in the fifth dimension, which is the Garden of Eden. 25,000 years ago, it was, the Garden of Eden was Earth's fifth dimension. The bottom line of creation is the fifth dimension. There is nothing in the third dimension anywhere except this little tiny bit that the Luciferian, action, went rogue and took off track a little bit. That's all now being cleaned up and finalized and finished. Gone forever.
Got it.
We're here doing it like you are. Everybody's doing their bit. You're here. What you're doing here is 100% in the bit. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, it's all part of consciousness expansion. What you're doing will help all your viewers. Doesn't matter who you're interviewing. Their consciousness isn't going to go down after the interview. It's going to be up.
Okay, got it. Because a little more information into the consciousness.
Yeah.
So let's get into.
You're filtering positive stuff. You're not letting some get in there and blast away it. You're pretty good at filtering, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, let's take it down a little bit in more of a grounded level. What is it that when you're doing your work and stuff, like you'd mentioned you were at an event and things, where do you do your work? Do you like help people via coaching and consulting, or you exhibit at events?
Zero of that kind of stuff. Absolutely zero of that.
So what do you do?
Well, I'm basically, my responsibility has been to bring the Revelatorium through and get it out, which is now out. And recently to put together this disclosure. No, it is an official disclosure. And I'm now you're the first interview to get it out. The Radionnics website, the PDF, and there's a book, all right, it should be in everybody's hands on the planet, because
so basically you're taking information from other dimensions and bringing it down, and then
I'm not channeled. Got to stay from there.
Yeah,
information is being given to me down from higher dimensions.
Yeah, other dimensions are giving information to you, and then you are compiling it.
I'm the wordsmith. I'm not the author.
Got it.
No, I'm not. I'm the wordsmith.
I understand.
I'm the wordsmith. I love that.
Yes, you're just the messenger. I get it.
Well, yeah, that's it too. Will you sign a copy of the book? No. The message is the message, not the author. I don't want to sign the book, because that becomes the coveted part, not the stuff inside. See, I won't sign a book.
Totally get it. Well, before I ask my favorite question, that's the big why question. Can you share how we get a hold of you, or how the website specifically again?
Well, all right. The main one right now, we'll go with that, is Radionnics.com. Radionnics.com. It's the same. The idea behind it is that it's radiation or magnetic. Like there's all kinds of radionic with one end, devices for health.
Yeah.
Like they radiate and you put it on your arm and that kind of stuff. Well, I'm using two ends because this is actually a magnetic radiation from the ship. So I've tied the whole thing through to that idea of radionic. Also, too, the clouds are like radial spokes of a wheel. It's a magnetic field. See.
Got it. It's radiation. It's like heat radiation. Radionics. Got it.
My email, if anybody wants that, is delstar@rogers.com. That's DELSTARR, 2 R's. And Rogers is ROGERS. Rogers is Canada's big AT&T kind of thing.
Right, I understand. Okay, well, now I'm going to ask my favorite question, and that's the big why question. Why is it you're doing this as opposed to being like a high school teacher or a gym teacher or coaching the local softball team?
when you're at the age of 12, this happens to everybody on the planet. At the age of 12, you're given an epiphany. Some kind of an event occurs whose intention is to steer your growth from that point on into a spiritual direction rather than a material direction. Now, most people that pass it through, they ignore it and so on. It stuck with me. Now, it didn't stick with me like from that point on, because it was about I was in my mid-20s. This would be 1965 and so on. I'd finished university and so on. And then it started. All of a sudden, I started thinking, is there life on other planets? Well, it took me 6 months to finally break through that barrier that, yeah, there's probably life on Saturn, but that was the link through, like the universe is inner, not outer. And that was the link through, and then it started from there. In the early 70s, by assorted ways, I was directed to a Melchizedek teaching that was being brought together in Vancouver. Now, there was supposed to have been thousands upon thousands, but drugs, the Eastern mystics had started coming in, so there was only about 50, 60 maybe altogether. But I stayed with that all the way through until the beginning of the 80s, and then I did nothing, and I mean literally nothing. I lived, but I didn't have a career. I just, I sold flowers in bars and restaurants. I experimented with speakers, but I hit the recession at the end, in the middle of the 80s, so I couldn't get it moving ahead, and so on. So I've been project-oriented, not career-oriented.
Got it.
But in 1997, out of the clear blue, it was a thought voice, call it a thought voice, says, we're giving you another responsibility. Now, at the time, my brother and I were involved with an antivirus business, and I thought it had to do with that. But all of a sudden, one day, I started thinking about the stuff I'd been taught in the 70s. And I thought, I started to get a feeling I'd sit down and type something out, put it on the computers. Well, I sat down. I was going to do something. There's a chapter in the Revelatorium called the Tree of Life. Mm-hmm. And in 75, I'd done a 1.5-page explanation of how the Tree of Life worked with the 12 chakras. That was it. That was my entirety for that whole length of time until 97. So I was going to type that up. Well, I hit the keyboard and I typed thumbnails. And now there's thumbnails at the end of the Revelatorium. And I just suddenly put down bullet points, like bam, 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 bam. And I had about 60 or 70 of them. And that's where it started. Okay. All of a sudden, that was what the new project we're giving you. It was bring, the term, have you ever heard of drum bellow Melchizedek?
I have not.
Like that? No. Well, there's other people that were supposed to have done the job that I've just finished in the Revelatorium, but their consciousness never got. They learned everything that there was to know about the fourth dimension from the mystics, from the old books, all that kind of stuff, which cluttered their thoughts.
All right.
Okay, so if stuff came through from the top down, it would get filtered out and translated into what they already knew or think they knew, and so it would be corrupted thought. It wouldn't be pure. Well, I hadn't done any of that. I hadn't read anything. I hadn't, I stayed completely clear. So the stuff came through unfiltered. So,
got it.
So anyway, I was handed the job, and the Revelatorium is now basically finished. The changes that are going in now are just little tweaks. They're like the main core of information. The entire intelligent design of creation is in there. It's sitting there like a golden nugget waiting to be discovered. The intelligent design of creation, not the mathematical formula that maybe is or not. Butterflies are beautiful. They couldn't have happened by accident. God must have created. There's the proof. It's nothing like that. The entire intelligent design, how creation has been formulated and put together, is in there, and it's actually quite simple.
Got it.
I'll leave that alone. Go look at it. But anyway, that's finished. So starting off at the after ACE, we again said, well, let's get it going. And I worked 12, 14 hours a day, like people thought I was nuts, compulsively, 7 days a week for the last 6 months. And it's now ready to go. And you're my first interview.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to close this one off.